Source Nation. Join us now for The Pendulum with Dr. Samori Swygert, a platform that encourages the 4Ds of philosophy: discussion, discourse, dialogue, and debate. Prepare to travel from the past, present, and have discussions of future implications and projections with a correlation to African Americans. These topics are intended to grab your attention, cause contemplation, and encourage some form of action. From the world to the White House to the hood and everything good, the pendulum is swinging your way. Source Nation, here is your host, Dr. Samori Swygert.
Source Nation, how is everybody doing today? Okay. First, out of the gate, we have to extend our thoughts, prayers, meditations, our lamentations. We have to give our sympathy and empathy to the people in Texas. Unless you've been under a rock, you know that they've been hit very hard. And that's why before the show, I had to put the Most Def New World Water on there. Very serious situation we're dealing with down there. I mean, this Hurricane Harvey has decimated the communities, has breached the levees, thousands of homes destroyed, people displaced. We've seen what happened in Katrina, so we must recognize that, and I would be severely remiss, and I would just be wrong if I didn't even bring that up. So we have to give that up to the universe, all the blessings, comfort, and peace to these families. Okay, now, welcome to The Pendulum. You know what it is, every Wednesday, 8 o'clock. We always got to get it in. So with that being said, once again, I'm wishing you tremendous blessings of health, family love, career success, and spiritual progress, and the accomplishment of your dreams. We always get intellectually intimate, and before we do, I always make sure that people get their coffee or wine or water, or if they want to turn their water into wine, that's on them. And they always have to pass me my shoehorn because I make sure that I put my foot all up in the issues of the day. Make sure that you share this link with your friends and family on Twitter, Facebook, and other social media platforms. I'm your host, Dr. Samori Swygert, a.k.a. Doc Swag, and I want to welcome you to my show, The Pendulum, on Source Radio. Now, a pendulum is an apparatus that people associate with a clock that helps gauge time and space. It traverses through time in a constant backward and forward motion. Some would say retrograde to anterograde. And this is what we do throughout the show as we engage topics. We have to connect the dots from the past, the present, and the future. Now, the show is designed to encourage what I call the 4Ds: debate, dialogue, discussion, and discourse. Now, make sure you gather your friends and family as we prepare to travel from the past, the present, and have discussions of future implications and projections with a correlation to African Americans. From the world to the White House to the hood and everything good, the pendulum is swinging your way. Now, Source Nation, I am very, very brother here. You'll hear his credentials and laurels as I go into his bio briefly. But it's tremendous what this brother is doing. You know, I've had the time to watch his Facebook live streams, watch many of his YouTube videos, see some of the different seminars that he have in New York. And I'm very impressed, and I think that we're in good hands when people are taking what he says, when they're taking that to heed. So let's talk about our guests, right? So today we have a brother by the name of Agyei Tyehimba. He's an educator. He's an activist. He's an author from Harlem, New York City. All right, just like me. All right. Now, Agyei is he's a former NYC, New York City, public school teacher, co-founder of KAPPA Middle School, 215 in the Bronx, New York. He is also the co-author of the Essence Bestselling book, Game Over, The Rise and Transformation of a Harlem Hustler, and that was published in 2007 by Simon Schuster. Now, if you're not familiar with that, that is a book that details the life of Harlem Kingpin AZ. A lot of people hear about like Rich Porter and Alpo and AZ. And so he goes through there and he shows it's not glorification of the lifestyle. You may understand what the lifestyle is about when you read the book, but it's showing you the perils and the dangers. It's a harbinger of when you choose to engage this path, there are some things, repercussions and consequences that the universe, universal laws will bestow upon you, okay? Now, in 2013, he wrote The Blueprint, a BSU handbook teaching black student activists how to organize and lead. In April 2014, he released Truth for Our Youth, a self-empowerment book for teens. In 2015, he wrote My Two Cents, Unsolicited Writings on Race, Politics, and Culture. Agyei has appeared on C-SPAN, New York One News, and most recently on the A&E documentary, The Mayor of Harlem, Alberto Alpo Martinez. Currently, Agyei is a member of the Black Power Cypher, 5 Black Nationalist men with organizing backgrounds who host a monthly internet show addressing issues and proposing solutions. He runs his own business, publishing books, public speaking, and teaching black people how to organize and fight for empowerment. He is the founder and coordinator of Harlem Liberation School and also Harlem Liberation University on YouTube. He's earned his bachelor's degree in sociology from Syracuse University, his master's degree in Africana Studies from Cornell University, and his master's degree in Afro-American Studies from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. So what we're going to do is when we come back from break, we're going to have a nice discussion with this brother right here, and I hope it will be enlightening for you. I know it will be, but just letting you know what you're working with. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to thank our sponsors real quick, and we'll come back and have this discussion. So our sponsors are Zuliana Health, Wellness, and Fitness, Paper to Film Productions, Revolution Mills, Renovations, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Blend to Blend Juice Bar Boutique, Urban Grandstand Digital, and New Covenant of Praise Worship Center. Source Nation, we're going to take a quick break, and after the break, we'll be back with Harlem's very own Agyei Tyehimba, and we'll be discussing a plethora of things for you. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Tune in. The Pendulum, Source Radio Network. Peace.
Source Nation, stay tuned. You're listening live to The Pendulum with Dr. Samori Swygert. Source Radio Network is just one of the many platforms that is used to fulfill dreams of our listeners and create a purpose that will impact the lives of our communities, cities, and the world. It is often said that great things will happen when a group of driven people work together to accomplish one goal. We're giving people the opportunity to have a voice, translate words that haven't been heard, and paint pictures that no one has seen. Source Radio Network is fueling your life's purpose. How can you listen? www.blogtalkradio.com/Source Radio.
Sure, humans can be a little weird at times, but take it from me, I'm a dog. And a person is about the best thing that can happen to a shelter pet. So if you want to learn how you can be that person, get down to your local pet shelter or visit theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening live to The Pendulum with Dr. Samori Swygert.
All right, Source Nation, welcome back to The Pendulum. I'm your host, Dr. Samori Swygert. As I stated before the break, today we're going to have a nice discussion, chock full of ideas with Brother Agyei Tyehimba. We're going to be going over economics, community, black agenda, just a slew of things. a myriad of things, and we're just blessed to have this brother here with us. Brother Agyei Tyehimba, how you doing today, man?
I'm blessed, my brother. I'm blessed. How are you?
Man, I am doing well, man, doing well. I'm glad to have you on. You know, we had a good, lively discussion yesterday, just chopping it up. So, you know, the people that are listening and tune in, or who will hear it later, they're gonna be blessed today. So I'm just glad to have you here with us.
I'm glad to be here, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So just off the break, what I always like doing is a little bit of housekeeping, and that is so that people that are tuning in, they can always go back and find you in cyberspace. and if you have any products or services, they can find that. So right now, what are your social media handles and websites like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, any websites, Amazon, or you know, Barnes & Noble, wherever you're selling some of your books? Where can they find you?
Okay, generally speaking, if people type in my name, Agyei Tyehimba, Agyei as in Mary, B as in Barry, A. They'll come up with a plethora of things that come up on the internet. I have a pretty strong internet presence. If you, in terms of Twitter, it would be my first name, Agyei143, Agyei143. Facebook is the same deal. If you type my name, Facebook, it'll come right up. I also have a website. It's the same thing. You type my name, it'll come right up in the first 3 to 5 things that pop up. And on the website, you can find out about my bio, my background, the books I've written. All of that is on that website. And even Harlem Liberation School, we also have a website. Again, you type that right in, it comes right up.
All right. So everybody that's listening, he just gave you his address. So whenever you're looking for him and you're trying, especially when you finish hearing this good stuff that he's going to be putting out there, you know where to reach him, you know where to find him. Now, Brother Agyei, can you just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself briefly?
Yes, sir. In a nutshell, I'm a Harlem educator, author, and activist or organizer. I've spent the vast majority of my adult life, and in fact, my entire adult life, organizing in our community, specifically around issues of education, white supremacy, racism. I've been an institution builder with Harlem Liberation School. Also co-founded a middle school 17 years ago called Knowledge and Power Preparatory Academy, otherwise known as Middle School 215 in the Bronx, which is still there, 17 years old. It's graduated approximately 1,000 students into high school, and many of those students are now graduate students, have young families, activists themselves, you know. So those are the things. And then I've been an author, a writer, written a blog called My 2 Cents, or My True Cents, rather. Mm-hmm. I have a new blog on my website, and you know, I'm just about heeding Brother Malcolm's call he gave us in 1962, which I make an acronym called WUKUSU. But it just means wake up, clean up, and stand up. That's what I'm about.
Wukusu. Wake up, clean up, and stand up. So everybody that's listening, Wukusu. Wake up, clean up, and stand up. And I think right now many of us are just on the first degree. Wake up, because everybody's talking about I'm woke. So yeah. Wake up. Now you got to clean up and you got to stand up. So if you woke, you still got some more degrees to get through. So, yeah. Okay. Now, Brother Agyei, you know, we had a pretty great discussion yesterday, man. We touched on a lot of topics, and I kind of want to let the audience be privy to what we were discussing. So one of the things we were discussing was having or creating a black agenda when it comes to like politics and elections and just kind of advancing as a black community, having a black agenda ready. Speak on that. Tell me what when you think of a black agenda, what items should be on the agenda. How do you think we should kind of go about executing that and things of that nature?
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, I want people to really wrap their minds around the importance of having an agenda. So many times, if you listen to the talking heads on the corporate white-owned media outlets, and even on some of our own black media outlets on YouTube or what have you, you hear this in popular street corner discussion, barbershops, bars. You hear it at our community meetings. Someone says, "Man, this leader was weak. They didn't accomplish this. We failed. We didn't make progress." And what I want people to really understand is we can make that statement very colloquially, very generally. But the truth of the matter is you can't factually make a statement, progress, progression, or retrogression, if you don't have an agenda. If you have not sat down as a community and come up with these important priorities and values, this end game, this vision, what reference point, what benchmark do you have to say you accomplished it or not? So in the absence of an agenda, you're almost nothing. You don't exist. You're not on the chessboard at all. So the agenda has to be in place so that, number one, we can determine who our allies potentially are, who our opposition is, so that we can determine what elected official or person who's running for a local office or national office, if that's your thing. I kind of disavow national elections. I'm big on local elections. But you need an agenda so that you can say, this is somebody we'll get behind. You need an agenda so you can measure if, in fact, your organization has been effective, has been successful. So in terms of how we do that, it's kind of like it's simple in theory. Black organizations, and I'm talking about not all black organizations. I'm talking about the black liberatory organizations, the Black Power organizations, the independent, we need and want a nation black organizations, the nationalist, Pan-Africanist organizations. They're not looking to the white man to save them organizations. They, in every city, they need to form alliances because this way we share scarce resources. We share scarce space. We share information. So now one organization is not burdened with trying to find community space to have meetings, trying to get co-sponsorships, monies and finances to do trips or whatever they have to do. And we share information because different organizations have connections with different resources in the community. So the first thing we have to do is everywhere black people exist, where there's more than one organization that is black, they need to form a formal alliance, not a loose one, a formal one that meets, even if it's twice a month, once a month. And they need to determine an agenda for themselves as an alliance.
Yes.
What is our agenda? What are we here to do? We're not here to get expensive lunches and go to the country clubs and freak off in some retreat somewhere. We're here to at all the things I previously mentioned. And then one of the first things on the agenda of these black alliances should be to canvass and survey our local black communities. Too often we come with a top-down leadership. The leaders of the organizations assume that they know what the issues are, that they know what black people's struggle and grievances are. And that is a fatal error to do that. I think that leadership should always canvass the community and survey the community so that when we say this is a black agenda, We're not saying this is the 10 black leaders in this city's agenda. We're saying it is, in fact, the black community agenda. Why? Because when you solicit people's input, then you have a greater probability of those people getting involved to make that agenda come to life. If you dismiss people's input, what stake do they have? They're not invested. Why would they get involved? We complain the community doesn't get involved. But then we got to ask, well, did you go to the community and ask them? So I suggest we do this. You can do this knocking old school, knock on doors, man. You know, the politicians do it, knock on doors, have people on important, heavily traveled intersections, heavily places in our community, use online tactics, but ask the people and ask different types of people, the elders, the college students, the adolescents and teens, the single parents, the workers, ask them. And then this agenda, of course, should be in a rank order. It should be the most important thing should be on this agenda. And by agenda, for those who are confused, I mean, what are our priorities? What are the things we want? What are the things that constitute our complaints? For instance, and it should be in different categories. We should have an education agenda. Everybody's talking about the black man and the black woman is miseducated. Okay, so what's our agenda with regards to education? What is it we want? What are we demanding? What are we going to create? You know, we complain about the GMOs, the genetically modified foods that the white man wants to kill us with, right? So, okay, so what's our agenda regarding health and nutrition? We complain about the slave patrols, the police that we have in this nation, killing us with impunity, getting away with it time after time. Okay, so what's our agenda? What do we want to do? Do we want to have community patrols? Do we want to try to reform the police? Do they need more body cameras? Should we do more candlelight vigils and march and sing? What is it we want? Do we want the police department to be completely dismantled and recreated with a new agenda, with a new modus operandi? What is it we want? You see, in our relations, this can go whatever the topics are for each community. And that's important because we must recognize that whereas we're all black people and we share certain things in common, we're also not that simplistic when you could just say black people do this, black people think this. We know there are different cultures of black people and subcultures. And we know that black people in Chicago have a unique flavor. Black people in Detroit have their unique flavor. Us Harlemites in New York blacks have a unique flavor. So when you do it locally, you allow each locality to manifest and express their unique flavor, their unique needs. You know, so the New York blacks may be real big on the police brutality and public schools and education, and it might be that Detroit is looking at real estate issues. They might be looking at municipal issues regarding government
or Flint looking for water.
Right. You see, those are municipal issues. So depending on what each city is going through, if you go to the people, they're going to come. You're going to notice that agenda is going to be strikingly similar in certain respects, and it's going to be different in some respects because each locale has slightly different issues. You know, and then I suggest as we do this locally in each city where black people live, where there's more than one black organization, as they get those local agendas together, now we start branching out to create statewide agendas. This now means that those alliances evolve into state alliances, and those state alliances evolve into regional alliances. The East region, the Midwest region, the West region, whatever. And these people are conferencing with each other. They're meeting. They're dialoguing. And, of course, they're fighting on local and state levels to actually implement these agendas. And then the highest form then will be when we now have a national alliance that now can speak to, this is what each region is talking about, this is what the cities are talking about, this is what the states are behind, and now we craft a national black agenda that takes into account, looking at all these different agendas, everything that's in common, takes into account the most practical, the most feasible, the most relevant according to the people, and they have national conference. And this can even grow to an international sort of situation where we are now dialoguing with people throughout the diaspora. What's Jamaica talking about? What's Brazil talking about? What are our continental African brothers and sisters talking about? Now, this is organization, and this takes time. It's not impulsive. It's not real quick. So it's going to turn some people off. But this is the way that change is made. If we study the Black Convention movement of the 19th century, fighting for abolition, fighting for, in some cases, voting rights, these were people that were meeting all over the country and developing agendas. If we look at 1945, the Pan-African Conference held in Manchester, England, this was a meeting. And if you look at the pictures of the participants, you will see just about every leader that would eventually, 15 years later, be the first black prime ministers of independent African countries. This started the African independence movement, but it started with meetings, with people forming alliances and discussing the critical issues of the day. This is for those people, Brother Samori, who think that talking doesn't mean anything. We want to correct that. We want to say, no, talking and informed discussion is the foundation of organized action. The issue is, what is it we're discussing, who's participating in that discussion, and what is the follow-through to that discussion?
Yes. Yes. Brother, you broke it down very logically and succinctly. And this is what I was saying about yesterday when I said you're able to cogently articulate, you know what I'm saying, your issues without all the rhetoric and hype, like lay it down, as Big said, lay my game down quite flat. That right there is necessary. But I hope that everybody that's listening keep game, keep what he's telling you, because the way he's telling you as we need to organize with each other, we find what we have in common, we dismiss the differences, and we find that common chord, and we build along that. This is the game of chess that white supremacists use. What do you think? What we saw in Charleston, what they aligned, the KKK, is not the same as the neo-Nazis. The neo-Nazis is not the same as the skinheads, but they find that common chord of white supremacy, and they fall in line, they fall in code along that, and then they move like that. So you see them, they mobilize to Charleston, they mobilize to Florida, they mobilize to Texas. As Brother Agyei was talking about, having this citywide, then statewide, then region-wide, then national level. This is how white supremacy has been operating for as long as we know, since inception. So, you know, these are practical things that we need to really execute and implement. Put aside our differences, because we have a lot of differences, and we'll probably talk about that too. But if you're just tuning in, I'm Dr. Samori Swygert. You're listening to The Pendulum every Wednesday, 8 o'clock. And today we have Brother Agyei Tyehimba of the Harlem Liberation School. And we're just talking everything black. Let's just say that, okay?
All day,
everything
every day.
Black. All day,
Brother
every
Samori,
day.
can I read something to you real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
For those of you who just tuned in, I want you to really wrap your minds around this quote I wrote in a blog. I want you to really feel me on this. It reads, and I quote, "When you have organized economic and political power behind you to threaten your opposition's finances, image, safety, or ability to function effectively, and you have an infrastructure that meets community needs and advances your will, it doesn't matter as much who the president is, what the Constitution contains, how large your population is, or who agrees with you. Powerful, organized, self-sufficient people rewrite the Constitution, make the three branches of government do their bidding, and bend things to their will every day. Black people just didn't get the memo." End quote.
Powerful.
That's how we got to think.
And with what Brother Agyei just quoted right there from that blog that he put together, I want y'all to take this into consideration. I was doing some research earlier this week, and I was, because I'm putting together a documentary, and so I'm, researching and finding archival footage. I found archival footage of the Klan in 1926. They said in 1926 they had the Klan had 6 million members. They were grossing $75 million a year. This is in the 1920s. They were bringing in $75 million a year, 6 million members. They were responsible for getting over 350 people inside the government positions. They moved offices into D.C. so they have influence on Congress. Understand what I'm saying? They marched on Washington. They had all up and down North Capitol and Pennsylvania Avenue. You had the whole Klan draped in white. They had a big flag that went from one side of the street to the other side of the street that was almost a block long, and they held it up, and they would march down the street, and the spectators would throw money inside of the flag, and they would capture that money with the flag. So that is what we're talking about right there. When they can have that power and that economic potential undergird your whole movement, now you're working with something. Anyway, back to Brother Agyei. All right. Brother Agyei, let's switch gears. Let's talk about, as you talk about economics, what are your thoughts on reparations and economics and finance in the black community? Oftentimes I hear, we talk about reparations. I believe it's definitely needed. It's definitely warranted. If you work and you don't pay your taxes, the IRS will come after you. They'll come after you for back. If you owe child support, they will come for you for back child support. So why is it that when it comes to paying back money that's owed, it's a problem? What's your position and thoughts on reparations, economics, and finance with the black community now?
Man, we need to stop playing. Just a year ago, just a block away from where I grew up, I interceded in a really heated argument between two young brothers. Mm-hmm. And they were arguing because one brother accused the other one of owing him $10 from like months and months back that he didn't pay. And the argument was escalating to, I'm going to murk you. I'm going to kill you. So I interceded, and I said, what's the problem? And the brother, he owes me 10. So the other brother said, well, actually, I owed you 5, and I paid you last month. Remember? We went to things, and he said, oh, yeah, you sure did. I said, now, see, my point in raising that, some of us are ready to kill or fight because someone didn't return our hairbrush. Now, we need to be honest. Our hairbrush, the sneakers they borrowed, the $5 or $10, these, and I think it speaks to what our priorities are as a people. Yes. See, anything you value, if you value something and you can demonstrate that someone unfairly and unethically took that valuable thing from you, you're going to fight for it. We know this because we know our people were killing each other online to buy Jordan sneakers, man. We need to stop that. We know that we're ready to fight and kill over certain things, and we're ready to dismiss other things. Why? Because some things we have as a high priority and other things we do not value. This is why damn near 30 black women go into police custody and die mysteriously in just the last 3 years. This is why damn near 70,000 black women over the last 10 years have been missing, never to be found, and there wasn't a national uproar. Brothers were not forming parties to find them. This is why we let our little girls go out in the street unprotected, unschooled, because if we're honest, and it hurts in this case to be honest, because what it means is that for some of us, our own children are not a priority, and we need to be real about that. Because if you're, whatever, some of us, brother, if you told us, look, I'm going to give you a big trunk with 50 solid gold bricks. Now, each brick is going to weigh about 35 pounds, so that's a heavy trunk. But you got to be at this place at this time in the morning to get it. Do you know every single black person would be there at that time to get it? They would. I don't give a damn if they just had a stroke or a heart attack. Their knee hurt. They got headaches. They would make a way to get there. But more importantly, Brother Samori, once they got that trunk, they wouldn't just leave that trunk with anybody. They wouldn't. They would be very selective and judicious about what brother or sister or organization or household or institution they would leave that trunk in. And it's so sad and disgusting that we don't have that same value for our children. Some of these parents will leave their kids with anybody because they want to do their thing. Have you investigated the background of this household you're going to let your kids stay at? Are there creepy men in that household? Is there any reputation that we can glean about this person? You see what I mean? So it comes down to your priorities. Some people could tell you, yo, man, what's your dream car? Oh, man, this brother sit down, he'll talk to you for an hour. Oh, brother, it'll have these type of seats, this type of interior, it'll be this type of sound system, man. It could brake automatically. Now ask them, what's your plan to help liberate black people?
Crickets.
I don't know. That's not a priority. We know our dream house. We could tell you what curtains we want, what shoes we get, all of these things. But what our dream so-called man or woman is. People have a long laundry list for that.
Yes.
But can't tell you what their 3-month plan, let alone their 3-year life plan is. This is a problem. This means that if we're honest, and this is that hard truth, many of us, we can say, don't even value ourselves. I mean, think about that. If you 30, you can 50 years old, and you can't tell us, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing by the end of the year. This is how I'm going to get there. But you can tell us what concert you're going to, whatever, what man you want, what woman you want. But you can't tell us what you're going to do with your life, what's your daily schedule, what is your end game for the year. This means you don't value your own self. So when we speak about economics, we have to really understand that we were taught wrong about economics. We think economics is about money. First error. Economics, as Dr. Amos Wilson told us, is about relationships. It's about relationships because there are some economies in ancient times that didn't have money. They didn't have paper money or coin money. They may have had a barter system. But it starts with an understanding amongst people that we all need certain things in our lives, and all of us don't have those things per se, but others do, and we need a system to be able to exchange goods and to be able to have safe travel and to be able to get the materials we need to build. And, so it starts with a relationship. See, our economics is get money from the white man, give the money back to the white man. That's our economic system. If we're honest.
True indeed.
Do whatever you got to do. Ruin your health. Be on your deathbed. Don't spend no time with your children, your loved ones. Get the money from the white man. And then as soon as you can get it, give it back to him. Get it from him because you've been taught that's the most important thing. Then give it back to him because our psychology has been warped where we think that getting things gives us value.
Right.
Instead of understanding that acquiring information and knowledge and skill set and organizing creates the value.
Right.
You know, we want to obtain, but there's no achieve, like X-Clan said. So our economics is exactly what I said. Now, so there has to be serious consciousness raising so people understand. Economics, to simplify it, think of everything you need in your day-to-day life. Toiletries, food, whatever, some entertainment, whatever it is, clothing, and then you have just determined all the things that your community, your people need to meet and organize and strategize around. How do we create these things for ourselves? How do we do so in a way that is not avaricious and malicious and cutthroat? And how do we do so in a way where our community benefits not just 1 to 5 families? You see?
Right.
And how do we do it in a way where we put ourselves first? We practice, as Dr. Clark called, the essential selfishness of survival. You know, where we say, for instance, we got this Hurricane Harvey.
Yes.
And I'm glad they named it a white boy name because it reminds people that destruction and death and murder and disrupting your flow we can attribute to white supremacy. So I'm so glad that this hurricane is not named a black name, a Latino name. It's named a white boy name. I like that. Hurricane Harvey. Very good. That's a good association. It's accurate. Comes in and takes everything you got, leaves you in peril, and leaves you feeling unsafe and threatened and insecure. I love that. But just think about people saying, oh, we should help. We should do so. Should we do? Of course we should do so. But now we got to think, based on our experience with Katrina, who are the most vulnerable people? Who are the people who are least likely to have credit, least likely to be able to rent a car, least likely to have a family they can relocate with and be safe? Us. Always. It's us. And so as we want to be humanitarian and we are the world-ish, we need to be thinking about how do we take care of the most vulnerable people in Harvey. And so black churches and black organizations and black individuals need to be thinking about how do we make sure that the black people who are affected, the black communities, the black institutions, how do we support them? Because you best believe many of the white organizations and individuals and institutions will be responded to with great enthusiasm. But we tend to be always left out, you know. So even that's economy. See, all of that is an economic discussion. It's not talking about profit motive and all that, but yet it's economic. It's a relationship, an understanding people have. Something happens to that family on this block, this black family. They don't have food. They don't have communication. Other black families on the block understand, okay, what are we going to do to help them? That's a relationship. And so I tell people, before you start going into reading all of Adam Smith and all the traditional economic philosophy, start with an understanding, a relationship that your people are the most vulnerable and the most likely to be killed, neglected, poor, ignorant, and sick. And so if you want to be humanitarian, start there. Cast your bucket where you are, as Booker T. Washington said. Start with your family, and what you'll find is if we all did that, we actually wouldn't have time to be helping everybody, because so many of us need help in so many ways that our whole lives could be spent with black humanitarian effort and relief and aid. You know, so I believe we got to raise consciousness for people to understand economics through relationships, consciousness building, that I have an obligation and responsibility to my people. And then you will notice people will start to support the qualified and legitimate black businesses and business owners and black charities and humanitarian efforts and black institutions. But right now, when you see black people not supporting those things, you have to know, one, they don't value those things. They don't value it. And no one wants to admit that, because that's kind of sad and hurtful, but it's the truth. So we got to raise consciousness where we value ourselves as individuals, we value our ancestors and the history and the work and sacrifice that they did for us, and we value our people, and we look at everything through the lens of how does this advance us or set us backwards. Everything. You see?
Now, but you hit on that, and I like that, because you know we're in the essence of this Hurricane Harvey. Now, what I will also say is there's something that rhymes with Harvey that said they'll catch me in the whirlwind, and that was Marcus Garvey. But this ain't Hurricane Garvey. This is Hurricane Harvey. But you touched on the natural disasters and what it means to the black community, because we're vulnerable, not necessarily prepared as we should be. We don't have the support that we should. Now, I want to tilt the scale a couple other degrees, still focusing on the community, but just on a different level. Yesterday, we talked about this too, community protection. We saw in Charleston, Dylan Roof, a white supremacist, came in and killed all the black people inside the church in Charleston, South Carolina. We see routinely now this escalating trend of law enforcement thinking they can just yoke our black women up, slam them on the ground, do whatever to them. Excuse me. We see these KKK neo-Nazis, these skinheads and white supremacists, they're coming up to different schools and all of that now. We're seeing even white males, like in New York, they had that one white male come and stab the black man in the chest in New York. In Maryland, we had a white supremacist student come and kill this black young man on University of Maryland's campus. How do we, as a black community, what are your ideas on community protection, and what should we think about enlisting and improving our security?
That's an excellent question. Well, first, I'm going to start with we need to develop an agenda. There should be a very clear national agenda around our safety, around black health. That could be under the rubric of health, because your life is part of your health. If you're getting killed as part of a genocidal attack, then you're not healthy as a people. So I think we need to have an agenda around our expectations to live, our expectations to be safe in our communities and other communities, safe when we travel to other countries. There needs to be an agenda for that, and then we need to build structures and institutions that facilitate and ensure that. But on a really basic level, we have to practice Sankofa. We have to go back to the past and fetch that which are the best practices, the things, the practices, the thinking, the habits, the attitudes, the institutions that gave our people sustenance in the past. See if these things are feasible today, if they work today, because we're talking about an ancient agricultural society versus now a modern industrialized, highly technical society. So some things may not transition, but I'm almost positive that if we go into even our recent modern history of the Black Power movement, we'll see some examples of things we should do today. So the first thing is this. We know that the police department evolved from slave patrols. We know that, designed to monitor, survey, punish, because we were considered property, so we didn't go to courts back then. The white man just punished you on the spot, judge, jury, executioner. You know, that's what the police departments come from. So regardless of how many damn cameras they got, where they put them, regardless of the sensitivity training, the psychological testing, we also know, it's been reported, this is documented fact, that white supremacist organizations have infiltrated police departments very deliberately so that they could attack and kill black people and get away with it. This is documented. I forget, a brother did a few articles on this. It doesn't come to me now, but that's documented. So we already know that that's what that agenda is. Thing, brother, regarding protection, is dismiss all the old wives' tales, anecdotes, illusions, and the stuff that's just not true. It is not true that having cameras on cops will reduce police brutality. These cops got body cameras. They turn them off. They turn away. We know this. We know this already. So people are tickling with the solution instead of dealing with it directly. We need to teach our people to defend themselves. Our children should know how to defend themselves, whether that's through martial arts or what have you. Black people should have gun clubs in every city where we exist that teach them how to properly clean, disassemble, reassemble, load, and use firearms. They need to know how to do hand-to-hand combat. They need to know on a basis of how to disarm someone, how to take a gun or knife from someone trying to kill you. Because I have to tell you, when someone has a barrel of a gun at your head and you have done nothing and you have no gun yourself, singing Kumbaya, praying, burning candles and incense, marching, none of that is going to stop them from killing you. So we have to now get real serious. Okay, how do we address that? And we have examples in our recent history. We got Robert F. Williams, who was a former NAACP president. I believe he was in Monroe, Georgia or North Carolina. And he formed an organization either called the Black Guard. And he was a former military guy. And he formed an organization, and they went to work, and they prevented a black doctor who the Klan was coming to lynch. They sent them dudes on their heels the other way because they were there, and they began shooting. He said, don't shoot to kill them. Shoot at their feet first as a warning. And them white boys got in them cars and took their okie dokie behinds right away from it. We have the example of the Deacons for Defense during the Civil Rights Movement. They were so effective that Dr. King and Bayard Rustin would actually pay these guys for their service. And what they would do is escort the civil rights organizations when they were doing their nonviolent direct action campaign against, the white communities, white institutions. They would be there to make sure that nobody was getting shot, sexually assaulted, or physically assaulted. And they prevented a lot of people from dying. We have the example of the Black Panther Party for self-defense, So we have the example of the Nation of Islam. Ask the NYPD if they want to go running up in the Nation of Islam mosque again. I guarantee you they're going to say, no, thank you. Because the two times they did it in the 70s and 80s, what happened was they all got bones broken on their bodies. They all got repelled. And in one case, they killed one of the officers and threw his body out the mosque. This is documented. So what we're saying here, for anyone who might be listening and have the tendency to try to misconstrue my words, what I'm saying is we need to be able to defend ourselves. We have the divine right. We have the human right. Hell, we even have the white man's constitutional right.
Defense.
And even if we didn't have rights that they came up with or they supposedly acknowledged, we could look at nature. Every animal has some type of vehicle or expression to defend itself. I don't care, even if it's a chameleon that just changes colors to camouflage itself. Or if it's a skunk that just emits a nasty odor. Or a porcupine, or a tortoise, or a tortoise or turtle that can get inside that shell or bite the hell out of you. Everything has it. Our own bodies have an immune system. Could you imagine if our body took the approach that the Negro leadership does? Oh no, we can never use violence. We can't do that. Can't fight back, brother. We would die from a cut. We would die from a common cold if we did not have an immune system. And they go right into action. They go into action. That's our internal army. So we're not talking about going around visiting wanton, impulsive violence.
Instigating and hunting.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. We say, yo, you're not coming up and burning our house, our churches, our schools. Our schools now. We're not doing that. Our bodies matter. Our bodies, our lives, our bodies are intimately connected to our lives. So if we say Black lives matter, that means Black bodies matter. And our Black bodies are under attack. I can't tell you how many times I got stopped by police in my lifetime for absolutely nothing. While driving, while walking. And we had a block when I was growing up that the cops that would barricade the north and south end of the block, and you had to show the police an ID to get on your own block. I'm dead serious.
Wow.
In your own building. You had to show them an ID.
During the Giuliani era. Was this during the Giuliani era?
Definitely during the 80s. Those 80s with the crack and all that. I mean, it was off the hook. So I think people need to just understand the Deacons for Defense, they weren't no brothers with PhDs. What they did have, which is the big point, they were all veterans. They all had military experience. So now to answer your question more specifically now, who are the people, let's think about who are the people in our community who are best qualified and experienced to teach us offensive and defensive maneuvers, to teach us how to shoot, how to fight hand-to-hand. You know, who are the best qualified? Well, they would be those who were taught in the white man's Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, and Coast Guard, and National Guard. So there needs to be a real community push to have our Black military veterans, since they did the bidding for the white man's imperialist military branches and went to these countries and killed people and defended America's so-called interests. Since they did that, we tell them, you know what, we can give you a pass for that if you can now do our bidding and teach us how to protect ourselves from people who are killing us innocently in church while we're innocent. In a church, in a movie theater, burning down our churches. You did their bidding. Now you might be retired, might be a little older now. You don't have to be involved. Teach the young people. Teach us. And when they teach that, just like they were taught in the military, that comes with discipline. They don't just go around and shoot anything. They're disciplined. Think that they need to, I think those who are best qualified should lead with respect to a given thing. And I think they are the most qualified. The Nation of Islam, the Fruit of Islam, and our military veterans seem to be the best qualified. So a community appeal should be made to them. Listen, y'all, this you're not in the Army no more, but we're at war now. Nation of Islam, we know we're not in your organization. We're not. Some of us aren't interested in joining, but we being killed right now. Can you please come on over here and get that out the mosque and come into these communities and teach our people how to defend themselves? That's where I would start.
Powerful, brother, powerful. So we're getting kind of close to the end. I'm gonna throw one more. I have one more pitch to throw at you before we wrap it up. I want you to speak on the importance and maybe how, but definitely the importance of controlling our communications, getting control of communication and media.
Yeah, and everything. But yes, sir. The media. Speaking of war, we know that there's a whole branch of war and military called intelligence. And we know that there are intelligence agencies. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is one of them. The Central Intelligence Agency is one of them. We know that these organizations were very much responsible in some cases for the decimation of some of our Black Power organizations, for the harassment of many or all of our Black Power and civil rights organizations. And so people who talk about, you don't need to, communication, that's overrated, we need to go to war. Well, they got to understand war has various dimensions. You have an economic dimension. You got to make weapons, right? So you need people that can make weapons. You need people who, you have a propaganda dimension of war. Then you have an intelligence dimension. Well, who is the enemy? What is the enemy plotting? Where is he or she located? What is their ability to harm us? So that we can teach the people how to prepare. We can teach the people certain things to avoid doing. We can teach the people how, since they're listening in on all our phone calls and looking through our email, due to the PRISM program that Obama co-signed, these things can pull keywords off your phone, your text, and it's ridiculous. And it's all approved by law and the Patriot Act. Since they're pressuring Google and Apple and all, it's bad when the FBI is trying to take Apple to court. Show us how to get into your, to unlock these phones. Right. I said, damn, we need to be talking to Apple then, because we need to know, well, how did y'all get into the FBI can't get into the damn phone? But my point is, we have to have intelligence. And an important part of intelligence is communication. So this means we need to have a clear understanding of what remains in the public sphere and what remains in the private sphere. So there are times when we are, first of all, they have applications for smartphones. I think one was called Red Phone. I think they changed it. I forget the name of it now, but you can Google, you can look it up. Very effective. In order for a person to hear your conversation, they have to have this application. Two words comes up on your screen. If the person doesn't have those two words, it's an unsafe call. We also have to know, before even going there and getting all James Bondish, we have to know, simply don't be a fool and communicate anything that you wouldn't communicate in front of other people. Right. That's one thing. The other thing, though, is that I'm on the YouTube real heavy and to some degree the Twitter and some of these other things, as I assume you are. And I think that at some point we need to think about, we have people that are in IT, we got web experts, and maybe we need to start thinking about how do we create our own media platforms, that have some degree of protection. And we must keep in mind, because we have the conspiracy theorists, brother, who will tell you, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, we're trying to live our lives. We're not going to live our lives in fear, nor are we going to be damn fools and tell everybody what we're doing. So we have to have a degree of faith and trust that our people have the capacity to build the structures that we need, and someone has to start thinking that way. So I would say we have to value, again, coming back to what are our priorities. What we say to each other that we expect to be in confidence should stay in confidence. And when we're planning and organizing specific things, we have to start thinking about ways to do that where it stays private. And so, again, we have people who are best qualified to lead in that area. We have IT people. They done went to the white man's school. They done studied at MIT or wherever they went, and they know how to build whole computer structures, social media platforms. The problem is they work for the white man, and they're not thinking about, well, hell, if he could do it, we could do it.
Right.
We can do it. You know?
Right.
It's just that thought, and the creativity, the resourcefulness starts with the consciousness. It starts with people believing in their ability, people believing they have a right to be free, self-determining, and liberated. People accurately being able to see the problems, and then that's when those creative juices flow. You know, we can talk all night about what to do for any specific thing, but I guarantee you we have people right in our community who are experts on everything that you can list, everything, going down to hydroponic urban gardening, everything. We have experts. And I think we got to start connecting the amputated limbs of our political and cultural body. They're amputated and they're scattered. We got to bring them back together. And we need to have a serious talk. And this regards everything, my brother. We talked yesterday. People say, do we need Africana studies? Do we need STEM? Do we need mechanical engineers? Do we need literature people? Well, hell yeah. We need all of them. That's not an either-or conversation. That's a both and. Anything that a nation needs, we need. So a nation needs artists and musicians and literature people, humanities. It needs the hard scientists type people. We need forensic scientists. My youngest daughter is doing her last year in college. She's studying forensic science, and this is very important. How, people ask? Well, because when they kill our people, we go to their forensic specialists. We need to have our people be able to go to our own forensic specialist and say, no, this person couldn't have shot a gun.
Right. Who did Sandra Bland's autopsy?
That's right. We need to have anything that we need as an individual, as a household, as a community. We need to have people and organizations and institutions in place. And in fact, brother, I think that this even comes down to how we parent our children. We should put a moratorium on the days of, come out here, girl, and dance at the Thanksgiving dinner, at the Kwanzaa. Come out here and dance, girl. Show them how you dance. We need to put a moratorium on that. Maybe we need to start saying, come out here, brother. Let's hear that speech you wrote. Let's start pushing thinkers and builders and scientists and historians. Let's give that a lot of play. Not to say we ignore our dancers and artists. We need them too. But if we're honest, those markets are saturated. Damn, I mean, it's like 20 million kids want to be a rap artist. 20 million kids want to be an NBA star. There's only 475, maybe 500 positions to be in the NBA, man. 500.
Right.
But guess what? We need millions of teachers. We need millions of coaches. We need millions of writers and millions of filmmakers like my man Carl Tone Jones in Philly. We need millions of news and media people. You could still have some degree of status, making some degree of money, and be serving the people. We have to start teaching our kids that they have intelligence and ability that can be used beyond breaking somebody's ankles on the ball court or tackling somebody or gyrating our waist, man. We got to get them to see the beauty, their beauty in its totality, you know?
Yes.
And use it for us. That's the key, the consciousness. Because we can have people, we got scientists, IT people, military experts now. But guess what? They're not working for us.
Right. You got your Ben Carson that went to Johns Hopkins doing brain surgery on craniophagus twins, but he's for Johns Hopkins, you know. So you're right.
You're right. So that consciousness is key.
All right. Well, look, Brother Agyei, we got to wrap it up. But listen, I want you to one more time tell people how they can find you in case they came in a little later when you told them earlier.
Yes, sir. Thank you, first of all, for the opportunity that you gave me space on your platform. I really appreciate that, and hopefully the listeners appreciated what we both had to say. The first thing I would tell people is type in my name, Agyei Tyehimba. That's Agyei. Tyehimba is Tyehimba, and a plethora of pages will come up. You'll find my website. You'll find my Twitter handle is Agyei143. I'm on Facebook. You can find me by my name again. And on my website is my blog, is my business, my books, and all those things. Harlem Liberation School, type it up. It'll come right up as well. And I want to say in parting, brother, before we go, I'm coming real this year. The last 2 years I've been coming hard on our people because I've been fighting the white man all my life. But I also understand that we have some self-defeating behavior and thinking we must eliminate. And one of the things we have to eliminate is people. I'm talking about my books, talking about my speaking, my consulting. People say, "Oh man, that was bad, brother. Ooh, you deep. Whoa, brother." But okay, so you know what? Buy a book. I sell books. Buy some of my books. Bring me to your college. Bring me to your city to speak. In other words, support me. Revolutionaries got to eat too, black people.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes. Very
we
true.
Need to
Very
have
true.
Shelter. So I want to really impinge on people. Don't just say, "Wow, that was a great show." Our brother Samori, support our projects and help us build capacity. Help us to help you. This is how we got through all these centuries. You know, and many times without white support, we supported each other. We have everything we need. You know, we're all we got, but we're all we need. So let's not forget that.
Brother, also, I think you mentioned it, but I just want to make sure in case it wasn't mentioned. Your YouTube channel is called...
Oh, yeah, that's Black Liberation University.
All right.
Black Liberation University. Now, that channel should have 18 million subscribers, y'all. Stop playing with me. I'm looking at the stuff y'all are looking at, and it's foolishness. Forget World Star Hip Hop. They should go broke until they start showing black people in their beauty and their totality and stop showing us fighting each other, cutting each other, and acting a hot mess. Support channels like Black Liberation University. Support shows like what my brother Samori is doing that are edifying us, that are giving our babies positive examples so they have a choice. They can say, "I don't want to go out there and sling no rock. I want to go over here and maybe help people get off drugs. I want to go over here and build schools." That's what we need. So I hope people will check it out and subscribe and tell other people. We have to build our own power bases. And if we don't do this, Brother Samori, if we take the Negro position, "Oh, man, I don't got to do that. He's probably trying to fraud me. He's trying to con me." I'm going to tell you what happens. We're going to reduce the leadership capacity in our communities. We will have no organization to defend, educate, and protect us and inspire us. And if they get me in the morning, they're going to come get you in the night. If we don't stand together, we will die separately as fools, straight up. So we have to make that choice.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Brother Agyei Tyehimba of the Harlem Liberation School. You listen to Dr. Samori Swygert on the Pendulum every Wednesday at 8 p.m. We're going to sign out. We're going to give a special thanks to our sponsors. They are Zuliana Health, Wellness, and Fitness, Paper to Film Productions, Revolution Mills, Renovations, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Blend to Blend Juice Bar Boutique, Urban Grandstand Digital, and New Covenant of Praise Worship Center. Every Wednesday, 8 o'clock, Source Radio Network on Blog Talk Radio. You've got us. And we're going to say peace, and our hearts and prayers and meditations go out to the victims in Houston under Hurricane Harvey. And we are out. Peace.
it's yours.